Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, with less than an hour to go, is it really less than an hour? Yes, 55 minutes to go before voters, for voters to register before the EU referendum. We understand that the voter registration website has apparently crashed for some users. Nick Watt is back with me. Busy night, Nick. Busy night for their computer. What do we know?
Yes, well, we heard that people were registering to vote in recent days in their hundreds of thousands, and we've been talking to Martin Lewis, who runs the Money Saving Expert website, and he says, careful language, the site is crashing in parts, and what he's finding is that you can get onto the first page, but when you try to get onto the page to input your information, then you can't get in there, and that element appears to be crashing for some users. If you look at the Cabinet Office website at the moment for this, it says, as we speak, 29,782 people are actually trying to input their data, but we have clever people...
How do you know that? They have a little count
It's a
thing on
voter
there.
registration. There we are, live service usage. But we have clever people at Newsnight, and our clever colleague Hannah Barnes spotted that at 10:15 tonight, 50,000 people were trying at the same time. And I think we're going to hear from Martin Lewis. He says that is a lot of people.
Yeah, well, that is a lot. Martin joins us over the internet now from Money Saving website. Have you had complaints coming in, Martin, about this?
Yeah, somebody tweeted me to say that the website wasn't working very well for them and they couldn't get through, so I tweeted out, is anyone else having problems? And I started to have those coming back. Then I looked on that voter registration webpage to see, you know, it maxed out at about 50,000 people. Now, that actually isn't a lot of traffic in terms of if you're just viewing a website that you would read. But effectively, this is like a transactional website because you have to put your data in it. And to have that number of consecutive users at one time being processed, that is a huge demand on the server. So I'm not that surprised it's crashed. You don't set up a website for such enormous peaks as this. You contrast this to its normal traffic, which is trivial. This is huge. The real question is, now, my suspicion, by the way, that when I study web traffic, obviously, when you run a big website and it's like a two-hump camel, you get peaks over lunchtime and peaks in the evening. And the evening peak at 11:15, it really starts to drop very heavily till 11:30. So my suspicion is from 11:30 onwards, people will find it much easier. So if you have the time, keep trying. But there is a democratic question here. What about all those people who are trying between 10 and 11 o'clock who struggled, who've now got to go to bed because they've got to get up early in the morning? Of course, they should have done it earlier, but they haven't, and we say voter registration's open till midnight. Well, it hasn't been for them, and I'd love to know what the government plans to do about it.
But would you suggest that they just keep it open for another half hour? I mean, they can't take it into tomorrow, can they? But I mean, could they open it for another half hour, an hour, and let the enthusiasts at least get on in the early hours of the morning?
They could, but actually I don't know the logistics behind the voter operation registration, but I think actually, to be fair, you probably want to communicate that this has gone down and keep it open for at least the morning. When we have deals on the website where something like this happens, we always try and arrange for an extra day or an extra few hours because that seems fair. People will try for half an hour and then they will go away. And those people have probably gone to bed right now. And if they haven't been able to vote in this, the most important consumer decision of our lifetimes, effectively, I think they need to be given an opportunity to do so.
Martin, thank you very much. Nick, have you spoken to the Cabinet Office? Are they...
We have indeed spoken to the Cabinet Office, and we're waiting to hear back from them, but they seem to have a pretty good idea that things are not perhaps going brilliantly.
Right. I mean, I have to say, it is quite difficult for them to move it, isn't it? Because I think there's a law that it has to be shut
this
at
is
midnight.
everything, all the timetable is set in law. I think it would be very, very difficult for them to have any discretion over this.
Nick, thanks very much indeed. Well, that's it for tonight. Do you know, I was actually just going to remind you, as we close the programme, that you have 50 minutes left to register in the referendum. Don't bother.
I've been getting